Let's do a child behavior checklist for ages 6 to 18. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle of self-government. In this video, we will talk about a basic checklist for good behaviors that all children ages 6 to 18 need to know. I teach self-government. That is what this channel is all about, which means self-management or self-mastery, self-control, how to regulate yourself. There are some basic skills for self-government that can benefit everyone. Really, this is all ages. The majority of these skills that I teach are not just skills intended for children, but they are adult skills that adults can use as well. And even toddlers and young children can start to learn these skills long before age 6. But for sure, by age 6, a person should be knowing and understanding these skills. If not, you could develop entitlement, throw off the roles in your family, and create dysfunction that can be difficult to navigate. You actually can make your child feel more insecure by not laying a good foundation and helping them understand how to communicate with you about various things. Now, one thing that we need to understand is that by the time a child hits 18, well, they're not really a child anymore, right? They're a young adult. So they need to be preparing to launch out into the world to become an adult on their own. So when the child is younger, like ages 4, 5, 6, the child needs to learn the basics of behavior, and then the parent needs to consistently reform that behavior again and again. So let's think of the reform as a high level on a mixing board. So if I have two levels that I'm playing with on my mixing board, one of them is reform and one of them is transform. That's this one over here. The transform is something that has to happen to prepare a child to become the adult version of themselves. The reform side is what you have to do to help the child lay that foundation and establish good habits. So at first, the reform teaching is much greater than the transform teaching. But as the child grows older, if you've done this reforming early on, then it can decrease a little bit until you're transforming or preparing them to make their own decisions, to govern themselves more, goes up higher. Okay, so they switch places. Now, some people don't start learning about self-government and the skills for good behavior and for self-control until their child is a lot older, sometimes even 17 or 18. When I was a therapeutic treatment care parent for troubled teens, sometimes teens were 17 and would come to my home. But you know what? Their prefrontal cortexes are so developed at that point that truly they can learn so many things so quickly. So we still have to do the reform, lay the foundation, do the reforming, but the transformation can go up higher quicker than it normally would if you'd started the reform process earlier. So what types of behaviors would we want on a checklist for reform and then transform? So for reform, we need the basics. Now with teaching self-government, there are 4 basic skills that a person needs. This takes care of 99% of their behavioral problems. Those 4 basic skills are taught in these 4 children's books. They are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. When a person learns these skill sets that are in these 4 basic skills, that takes care of 99% of their behavioral problems. So they need to learn those skills. They also need to learn calmness and self-regulation. They need to have a calm plan. They need to learn how to communicate with other people and how to problem solve. In my TSG parenting course, I teach a problem-solving skill called SOTAs. That's an acronym that stands for situation, options, disadvantages, advantages, solution. This problem-solving exercise helps develop the prefrontal cortex and prepare a child for better problem-solving capabilities. It's a really powerful way to think, and if your whole family understands SOTA's exercises, then when the family faces a problem, the way that you get to your solution will be much more productive. So what about the checklist for the transform ages? Well, you still need to know those 4 basic skills, you still need to know how to problem solve, but there are some other things that come into play. When a child is in their teen years, and when I say teen years, I'm going to say like 11 and up, now we start learning to take a little bit more personal responsibility for things. So if they don't do their laundry, they don't have clean clothes to wear. Nobody's going to bail them out of that. If they didn't bring their homework back to school, then they can't turn their homework in. Nobody's going to bail them out of that. As time goes by, there are more and more things that they have to take responsibility for. And so we give them the opportunity to make dinners, to cook and clean things, to care for other people, to do minor maintenance on things around the house, and to wake themselves up on time, put themselves to bed on time, those types of things. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have any type of a, hey, by this time of night, the house has got to be quiet. Of course, you can give some instruction. And there's things like curfews, those types of things that are going to be really important that parents probably still institute those and have set rules for the home. By and large, if the child can do all of the 4 basic skills, they should be able to carry on those things during the transformation process. If they cannot, you've got to go back to reform, because those 4 basic skills are the checklist for what a person needs to know that they can solve their problems. So hopefully they get to that stage, and then you can move on beyond there and let them learn how to manage finances, how to repair relationships, how to admit wrongdoing, how to have delayed gratification, how to earn money, all kinds of things that they can learn how to do after that. But they're all based and built upon those 4 basic teaching self-government skills. So what if your child has more extreme behavioral problems and you feel like maybe it's going to be difficult to get those 4 basic skills happening? Then I highly recommend going to my next video, which is treatment for child behavior problems. Click on that video next. I'll see you there.